Hey collab crew, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Ashley.
And we are empowering estheticians one conversation at a time.
And we're back.
We are back.
We're back. Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2025.
Yeah, I hope you got those goals. I hope you've written down whatever it is you want to accomplish.
Yeah, your vision boards.
Yeah, vision boards, whether it's short-term goals, long-term, just write them down. Because there's something in the power of writing things down and looking at it every day. So, yeah.
I agree.
I'm excited.
We've had a really great start to the new year, too.
No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And a great end to the year.
No, we had a really good end of the year. The end of the year sleigh.
Yes.
That was
huge
great.
Event. Yeah, it was so
great.
good. We had a lot of of our loyal Esty collaborative members that came. We had so many raffle prizes to give away.
Yeah. A lot of people was gunning for that glam core light, but
our girl Danielle got that.
Could only be one winner. Only one winner.
Yeah.
So what's this episode about, Miss Ashley?
So today we're going to be talking about what to expect if you're thinking about becoming an esthetician, how to prepare to enter the workforce after graduating Esty school.
Okay.
So I figure we can talk a little bit about our journeys when we first got out of school, how we got our first jobs, how it led us into being solo practitioners, and then just maybe talk about some things that we would do a little bit differently because, I did just pass my 10-year anniversary of enrolling into school.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that for you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
So this month is my 10-year since enrolling in aesthetic school. And it was another reason that kind of prompted this conversation because so many things have changed in the last 10 years,
No, for sure. For sure. Well, I am so excited to get into that topic. But before we do, for those of you, if it's your first time here, my name is Andrea. I am a licensed esthetician specializing in corrective skin, and I work inside of Orlando, Florida.
Yeah. And I'm Ashley Hanlon. I'm also a licensed esthetician for almost 10 years. I'm a solo business owner here inside Luminous Wax and Esthetics. And I've taught, we've both been educating for quite a while. For 5+ years, we've been educating other estheticians on advanced techniques and modalities. Yeah. And now we have the Esty Collaborative.
Yes. Which is our baby.
Everything to us right now.
Everything to us right now. I sometimes feel like we put in a little bit more work on the Esty collab and kind of put our own business on the back burner. So sometimes I have to check myself because I get so excited for what's to come with the Esty Collaborative and what we're doing and what we're building with the hopes that our esthetician community sees the value in that and would jump on board with us.
Yeah, I agree. It is a balancing act. Yeah. But so far we've been doing okay. Yeah. We try to keep each other in check, grounded, take the deep breaths. Yeah. It's all going to work out.
Everything's going to woosah.
Woosahs. Lots of woosahs.
No, for sure.
And I think that's normal anytime you're starting a new venture, a new journey, a new brand, especially a new business. Yeah. So these are a lot of the same feelings that I had when I started becoming a solo business owner, how I'm feeling now in the Esty Collaborative.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You have all these ideas and you just don't even know where to start, where to implement, where to get the resources for any of it.
Yeah, girl. And I think that's what's so important about the Esty Collaborative because we do provide those resources. We are able to help so many estheticians in so many different ways. Yeah. And I'm just so excited for what we have going on.
Yes. So a few events that we have coming up before we get into our pointers on our episode, we'll kind of do a little recap. As you mentioned, we had our end of the year sleigh event that we just did. And then we also had a trip down to Miami to film with our podcast besties, Sam and Anastasia, with the Esthetician Edit.
And we had so much fun. I enjoyed being around them. I enjoyed the episode, which you guys should go check the episode out. The name of the episode is from
From Esty to educator.
Guys, I had to bring far, but from Esty to educator, and I feel like we were dropping some really good gems, and it'd be nice to just, support our Esty podcast besties.
Yes, absolutely. And so actually their episode, one of the episodes that they just released too, was with another esthetician, Navette, down in Miami, Florida.
Yes.
And their episode was how to get booked and busy your first year as an esthetician.
Yeah.
And we know that we connect with so many schools, and a lot of the girls that are in the Esty collaborative group are brand new out of school,
right?
Or maybe they've been out of school for a year to 2 years and they're still having some troubles trying to find their way, trying to find the right fit for them. So there was kind of a lot of different reasons why I thought this would be a great topic to talk about.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where those signs keep coming up. You're like, okay, you feel called to.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great topic. As I mentioned before we started, talking about how we're going to get into this discussion, that is so important to make sure that we let our Esty tribe out there know that being an esthetician is more than just being an esthetician. It truly is a passion. It truly is a passion.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Because you won't survive in this industry if you don't really care.
You're not about to survive.
No, I mean, not literally, but your career in aesthetics will be dead if you're not passionate about it.
Yeah, you definitely need to be passionate about it. It takes a little bit more than just, I want to do skin. And, you have to, the passion shows more in everything you do. It's not just about showing up on social media. It's about how knowledgeable you are, like how you're able to educate your clients about just different things, ingredients, and knowing your stuff and what to use for what. So just make sure that, again, that passion is there before even wanting to become an esthetician. It's just one of those things that you got to have some willpower to stay in it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And even in previous episodes where we've talked about ourselves and our journeys a little bit, both of us got into aesthetics because we had a love and a passion for makeup.
Right.
That led us into really loving the whole skin aspect of the beauty world, and so I found that spark for skin. I mean, I already kind of had it because I already had a passion for making people feel good. I think was really where my passion was coming from. But I knew I didn't want to do nursing. Yeah. You know what I mean? There were just certain things where I was like, I don't know that I'd be great or have the patience maybe so much for that.
Yeah, girl.
Although we've learned a lot of patience even in this career.
No, I feel like if you can be an esthetician, you can be a doctor. Okay. Because the amount of patience you have to have when dealing with just different clients, different situations. It's so crazy because my journey actually started with me going to school to be a nurse.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, girl. But it was mainly because my mom wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
So it was on my mind I'll go back to be a nurse. And then I was like, yeah, I'll take this semester off. And then my mom's like, why aren't you back in school? I'll take the next semester off. And then I'm like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I always had an issue with acne too. So I was like, I always knew that I wanted to do something with skin, but I didn't know where and how. Yeah. So it started with makeup only because the school I went to had a dual program and we had to learn makeup and skin. But as I was in school and I noticed that you can do a lot with skin, I was like, I don't want to do makeup anymore. So, but that's how it started with me. I was at Seminole State College, and I was enrolled in my little prerequisites for my nursing, and I just was like, I don't want to do it.
It's for me. So I loved the makeup too, but then my mom also is a cosmetologist, and she's going on almost 50 years of being a cosmetologist.
Oh, she loves it.
Yeah. So my mom is also passionate about the industry. She loves to make people feel good. And also she was very involved with the industry. So even before I was born, she started in, cosmetology school right out of high school, so is very young. Her mother was also into cosmetology and had a little salon that she owned. So I think that kind of, also set the tone for my mom. But then once my mom got involved and she started doing all the fun things like the fashion shows and like different competitions and working for really high-end salons where they got to do fun makeup and just really be themselves and find this creativity, that I think a lot of people just think, oh, the average, little hair place or barbershop, like they're just doing cuts and basic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So she was like really involved with this stuff. And for me, I guess, honestly, I always just thought it'd be so much fun. Like this would be so much fun to just, be so creative or like do people's makeup all the time. I will say I was a little delulu in that sense when I first went to school because I was just like, oh yeah, no, this is going to be so much fun. Like, how hard can this be? Like, I knew I had a lot to learn, but I had no idea, like, really what path I was putting myself on and like how much hard work was going to have to come after school.
Yeah.
Because there really was nobody for me to talk to about that. No support. My family supported me, like having, going to school and like following that.
But it's the support from the community.
Yes.
Like you don't really right out of school immediately find that. It takes a lot of building those relationships and building those connections in order to even get that and meeting them in just different ways, like how we met. Like you trained me on microneedling and we just been locked in ever since.
Yes,
So I feel like, you're right. Like coming out of school, the support is just not as
not what we're striving and needing at that time, especially. I actually didn't even know any estheticians before I went to esthetician school.
Yeah, me
I had
either.
never had even an actual facial in a spa.
Okay.
I was baby new to
I had
all
one
of
at
this.
I had one at a dermatologist's office.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was way before I became an esthetician. And I remember laying there and I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
She did microdermabrasion on me. Her bed was warm. She was moving it up and down. I was like, I want to do this. And it was when she extracted my skin and showed me what came out of my skin. And, I love that stuff. So I'm like, ooh, like I wish I could have seen it. And I think that's what kicked it off for me. Like, you know what? I think I want to go to school to be an esthetician. I think that's really where it's at for me.
Yeah. Which, that's amazing. I've even had clients, and maybe you've had the same, that over, 8 years almost now as a solo business owner, I've even had clients that have like gone to school to be an esthetician after having our, experiences with us. Right. So that always feels really good. Now I'm like, okay, I really can help support these people, and some people that aren't clients, but just old friends, like, hey, I see what you're doing. And I've been thinking about going to esthetician school, and I'm like, oh yeah, come on in.
But make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure it's something that you will be able to do, knowing that there will be ups and downs, there will be slow seasons, fast seasons, just knowing that it's, again, like you said, it's not going to be all diamonds and pearls as soon as you get out.
Yes.
So, me, I kept and then I'm not telling nobody else to do this, okay? Because I was working 3 jobs when I started my business.
Which I think a lot of people are. I think that's not actually talked about enough.
Yeah. And for me, it was more so because I was so scared of letting go of my full-time job. Yeah. And right out of school, I ended up saying, you know what? I want to work in a dermatologist's office because that was my experience, I didn't have any experience, but I went on, it's not Career Builder. There's another one. I can't remember. One of those websites to look for a job, and I seen a dermatologist's office. They were hiring for something else, a medical assistant. Yeah. I called and asked them if they had an esthetician. They said no. And then I pitched myself and I was like, you need one, you have people coming in with issues, anti-aging, people coming in with acne issues. And they actually gave me an interview and they hired me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long out of school was that?
It was 2 months out of school.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 2 months out of school. I got the job at the dermatologist's office. I only worked there 2 days a week. And I was still working my full-time job. So on my days off, I would go to the dermatologist's office. And I was like, I love this. And they were like, well, whatever you need. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Because, I got it like that. So let me order this. And after doing that for about 9 months, 8, 9 months, I said, you know what? I want to open my own business. And I just went for it, you know? So yeah, I ended up kind of getting lucky with that job, you know, not kind of, I was lucky with that job right out of school, no experience at a dermatologist's office. I think it's all about how you sell yourself.
Yes.
And I also brought my transcripts to show that I kept like a 4.0 the entire time.
Nice.
So I think he was just impressed with the, you know, how I was selling myself.
Yeah, that's what you have to do because really coming out of school, we don't have a lot of experience. We hands-on. We don't have a ton of product knowledge or modality knowledge other than the basics, right? That high frequency microdermabrasion, you know.
Yeah.
Outside of that, you really are just going in there to basically sell yourself like, you know, either you're not offering this and you should be, and I can help you with that, you know, because at least now you have access to different product lines and, you know, so much more once we're out in the real world than what we had access to in school. So, I mean, I think honestly that's amazing because to be able to find something that fast. But like you said, you were working another job and at one point you were working 3 jobs?
Yeah. So I was still at my full-time job. I was at that job at that time for 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, that's a corporate world. And I, on my days off, I was at the dermatologist's office. And then the third job was Luminous. When I decided to open it in 2019 in February, I would get off from my full-time job at 2:30 in the afternoon. And I would start my first client at 3:30 in the afternoon till about 8:30 at night every day. And then on those Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I was at the doctor's office all day. So I kind of just rotated those 3 for like a good year and a half. And, I don't know. I was never tired. And I feel like I was never tired because I was actually enjoying the adrenaline, I guess you can say, from like, I got my own business now. I'm going to make sure I do X, Y, Z. I don't know. I just didn't get tired because I didn't try to put that thought in my mind. Yeah. Because I knew where I wanted to go. Yeah. And I knew where I wanted to grow. So, yeah.
To go and grow.
To go and grow.
Yeah. No, it is. Because I think and that's why it's important to like set these goals in your mind, because when you are thinking about, okay, I'm doing all of this to get to that end goal, you know, it does make it feel more worthwhile, you know? Like, of course, we don't want to get burnt out, but honestly, in the beginning, like, you have to put yourself out there. There's sacrifices that you're going to have to make. I've also worked multiple jobs. Like, even now, I still work more than just Face by Ashley, right? I'm doing my thing with some of the brands and doing some educating and things like that. So, you know, even 7 years in, I'm still not full-time solo esthetician, you know? And I think it's okay. Like, I'm happy with the way that is right now, you know, but I just don't think it's talked about enough that you are usually, even coming out of school, typically working somewhere else full time and doing our little side hustle, building our business on the side, you know, in the evenings, on the weekends, or when we do have that available time. A lot of people don't want to work 2 jobs. No. But you literally have to, like, because you have to sustain your income while you're building clientele. I mean, it can take years to build a steady clientele. Yeah. So, I mean, when I got out of school, while I was in school, there was a girl that was in class with me who was also dual licensed. So she was already a massage therapist and she was coming to school for now Esthetics. And she had worked at an Aveda concept salon in town. So she was really good friends with one of the managers there. So she was like, I think you'd be a good fit there. I'll give you a recommendation. And then also my best friend, Allie. So you know Allie, she was actually a massage therapist back in the day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Practiced massage therapy for a while. When I first met her, she was actually in school for massage therapy. So she had also worked at this salon even before we really were that close, you know. So needless to say, I had 2 referrals for this same spot going into it. So I do feel very grateful for that. I do feel like it was a huge part of why I got the job, because I had really great referrals from people that have worked there before that they trusted, you know. So that was nice. But also, you know, I was fresh coming out of school. A lot of places do want experience, but you'd be surprised how many places will also hire you fresh out of school because you're like a sponge ready to soak up all the knowledge.
They don't really like to hire people with too much experience because they think you're going to come in as a know-it-all. You're going to tell them that their protocol is wrong, and they don't want that fight.
No.
So they rather, like you said, get someone who's fresh meat, you know, and you're like a sponge just soaking it all up. So
yeah. And like, I think newbies aren't coming in with those bad habits too that sometimes we get into, you know, after a while. I mean, honestly, even just being around students, like it just lights me up. Like I feel we're both the same with that, you know, because they really are just so excited for this whole world of things and opportunity, you know?
No, for sure.
Yeah. So I did get lucky with that referral. I was there at Aveda for pretty much exactly a year. Did I like the Aveda products? Not really, I'll be honest. Did I get amazing hands-on experience for a year? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think I've talked on episodes before, Aveda is very much like a client experience type of facial. There's really not a lot of intense, they don't use modalities, everything's with your hands. It's all very botanical and gentle.
Oh, I don't know if I would vibe with that. You know, I'm a give me some modality type of girl.
I mean, in school, we were able to, it was funny because even at this salon, like we had microdermabrasion, but it was in the back closet.
Yeah.
So like, because it was an Aveda concept, we technically weren't supposed to be using modalities because that's not the Aveda way.
Yeah.
But they had already offered it before becoming a Aveda concept. So it was like, well, we're not going to get rid of it now. So it's like, if your client you're like, you want microderm? Yeah, I want microderm. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to the closet and like bring it out. You know, it's like this on the DL, just to have microdermabrasion.
That is horrible. And that's one of the most simplest but effective, like,
yes.
You know.
I mean, but I mean, it was, you know, all about Aveda. And I learned about the sensory experience. I learned about essential oils. That's where I learned how to give a 90-minute massage versus, you know, mini facials that I was doing in school. So it really helped me also get into just that, okay, I'm here with my client, like being present in the moment and not necessarily rushing through to get the next client in, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. So when it comes to like an esthetician getting out of school, I feel don't leave school with the expectation of as soon as I get done, I'm going to have the job of my dream, right? I'm going to have, and I'm not saying that you can't manifest these things, right? Because you can want these things for yourself, and it's great too. But I think it's important to put out there not to expect that. And the reason why I say that is a lot of estheticians that we talk to, a lot of their main concern is, I'm not getting any clients. I don't know how to get the clients. I can't find a job. Can you help me find a job? And I think it's so important that before you start looking for a job, definitely do your research on how to set yourself up, you know?
Yeah.
If I bring you my resume, probably the first thing you're going to do is like, let me check this girl out. And you're going to go to my social medias. You're going to see what, you know, my personality, if I'm a good fit with your company, etc. So even if that time you don't have clients, right? You still should know enough so you can put a couple videos out there talking about different things with skin, your favorite products, whatever it is to show who you are. Because if I'm looking for someone and you bring me your resume and I go check out your social media, I fall in love with people's like energy and personality and, you know, if you could vibe and fit in with everybody else. And I think it's just so important to set up that back end before you start, you know, looking for a job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like while you're in school, start building the portfolio, take before and afters, even if it's just after a basic facial, just show the difference of the skin. You know, you don't have to have these spectacular, before and afters. Like, don't compare to what everybody else is doing on social. Like, everyone's on their own journey, posting those simple before and afters, posting how to wash your face. Like, we learned that in school. Talk about a couple key ingredients that we learn about in school, like glycolic and salicylic and lactic acid. Like, just certain things, be present and show up, because once you are going in, they're going to start researching it. They're going to Google you first. Typically, that's how anybody finds out who anybody is, right? Yeah. So you go to Google, they type in your name, and you don't have, or let's say you have something out there from the past that maybe you wouldn't want an employer to see, or you wouldn't want to represent yourself that way to an employer. Yeah. So it's kind of like, tie up all the loose ends. Right. Like, you really, we want to be ourselves. That's how we gain clients. That's how we find our tribe of people. But there is a level of professionalism that comes in our industry that if you really want to be taken seriously, you also have to be professional. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's having those websites. That's having, a social media presence where you're educating people, on all the things. Yeah. So,
then we also talked about like a little bit about support, like coming out of school and things of that nature. And there's so many ways that you can get the support. You just got to kind of think outside of the box, right? Yeah. Like, for instance, Esty Collaborative, like, we're here to support. Yeah. And it's like, we have people that reach out to us, but I feel like it should be way more with the amount of questions that we get when we have our meetups. It's like, well, why don't you send us an email, or shoot us a DM, like, let us see how we can help you. Like, don't feel like you're alone. And then there's the trade shows, the different trade shows that you can go to. And you have a lot more experience with the trade shows than I do. I've only been to 2 in my life, so, but what I can tell you, the last time I went to Premiere, I enjoyed myself. I was talking. You had me like assist with the herbal skin booth. Yeah, you were a model for our treatment. And then I was a model for the treatment on stage. And girl, like, I was vibing and just talking to these estheticians, giving them my social media, like telling them what was my favorite product. And it was such I don't know, like, if I was a new esthetician, that would have been the place that I needed to be. 100%. Yeah. I actually didn't attend trade shows until a couple years, really, when I moved up here to Orlando is when I started even knowing about these shows, right? It's crazy because you feel like it's put out everywhere, but unless your teacher is really doing the due diligence of keeping you up to date on things like this, you're really not going to know, until you are full thrown into the industry. Yeah. And the bigger shows can be super overwhelming, especially starting out new. Now you're coming out of school, or maybe still in school, because some schools will take you on field trips, to these conferences. And so that's always a nice perk too, when you're going to schools that are really involved, or your teacher's really involved in the industry, to give you this information. Yeah. But, there's smaller conferences too, or, what we're doing here with the Esty Collaborative, having just like, 10 to 20 estheticians here at a time, or students at a time, to where everybody can feel comfortable really speaking up. Yeah. I think sometimes at the bigger shows, they're afraid to ask questions. A little intimidated. Yeah. Which we just talked about that on an episode with the esthetician edit too, and like how to make the most out of your trade show experience. Yeah. So if you're a new esthetician, that would be a great episode to watch on diving a little bit deeper into getting the most out of your experience there. Yeah. So, so we say trade shows a good way to network. Like you said, when you got out of school, you had people that you knew that worked at somewhere that got you in. Yeah. So building those relationships with people while you're in school, so that, you can see what they can do for you when you get out of school. Because I think that's actually really great. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times there's no job placement for what we're doing. And then, all of us kind of probably have a little bit of different direction that we want to go. So some want to go straight into med spa world, and some want straight to a solo Esty. Yeah. Or a franchise. Exactly. It's just like, so going solo straight out of school, and maybe hitting on that a little bit. Let's talk about it. Let's spill the tea, because
Girl, so many times. And this isn't to put anybody down by any means. The problem is we're not taught, and this isn't really explained a lot in school. We're going to school for skin, not for business, right? So a lot of the times you find yourself having to take continuing education in business too, so you can run a business.
Yeah.
But, you know, we go into this of just like, oh yeah, I'm coming out of school. I have all these products. People are just going to be, because who wouldn't want a facial? Like, who wouldn't want to come see and hang out with me and pay me money to relax, you know? But no, it's not that way at all.
Nope.
Most of the time, like, and we've talked again too before about friends and family not always being
the support
your clients
that you're looking for.
Support. Yeah. So it's not like just you're going to survive off of your friends and family alone starting to come in to see you in, you know, your new practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much overhead that is involved with so much.
Yeah. I just love that word, overhead.
Oh God, I know. It's like,
no, there is
terrible.
So much. No, for sure.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back to, you know, before I say that, I would like to say, like, esthetician schools, put in a little segment about business, or bring someone into the school about business, because a lot of estheticians need it. Not a lot, all of them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them go to school and they don't know anything about business. I don't know nothing. I'm Googling my life away when I got done. Like, how to do contracts, how to negotiate commercial leads. Like, it was a lot. And I was like, I really wish I had a mentor or somebody. I really wish I had the Esty Collaborative when I got out of school, you know, to kind of hold my hand and help me with that process. Because, you know, I do feel like schools should definitely talk about that. Yeah, that business side is probably the most important.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because we already know that we're good at being hands-on in what we're doing in the treatment room. But financially, if you're not setting yourself up for success or even long-term stability, I mean, you're going to find yourself within 3 to 6 months to possibly a year, you're out of business.
Yeah.
Because you just thought that, you know, money would start flowing in. Now, you know, even with us coming out of school. So after I had worked at Aveda too, and then I moved up to Orlando after that first year. And now here I am in a bigger city that seemingly has so much more opportunity, right? But it was actually more overwhelming for me. So I had applied at a bunch of different types of places. Like Ulta was one of them, just to be at like the brow bar. Like they were starting to bring on estheticians to do mini dermalogica facials. So I remember having an interview with them. But that's the basics, right? That's the basic of the basic. And the pay wasn't great either. And then I also applied for like a couple chain spas. It was like, okay, well, all right. And then I also applied for like some resort spas, because being here in Orlando, we have so many resorts, right?
So many,
I applied for the Ritz-Carlton, and I found it again on like one of those job boards, probably Indeed, Career Builder, something like that. Thinking, why not, right? Like, let me just shoot my shot. I couldn't believe it when I got, before we even moved up here, I actually came up here separately to have my interview. So that was another thing. I needed to make sure when I came up here, I was already set up with a job, right? So if you are transferring, make sure that that's why it's good to have connections with people everywhere. Just because you don't know where you're going to end up, you know? But getting the job at the Ritz-Carlton, but it wasn't hands-on. And it was like, I was disappointed, even though this is like the Ritz-Carlton. I'm just like, wow, I'm in this luxury like hotel spa space that, you know, this is really cool. And again, I learned so much about client experience. They're very much 5-star gold standard, you know? So I learned a lot about that, but I wasn't going to be hands-on, and I was disappointed. It was like, okay, so they had a little retail shop downstairs from the spa. And so I was working in the retail shop selling product. We had a few different lines. Eminence was one of them. So that's where
I used them in school. I love Eminence. So
I did too. That's where I first was introduced to them even. Had never even heard of them before. We had another brand, Dr. Dennis Gross, which now he's in Sephora. And a couple other like boutique-y lines for like hotel boutique lines, smaller lines. But I kind of said, okay, well, I really want to work for an amazing company like the Ritz-Carlton. I'm not going to be hands-on, but there could be an opportunity down the road. They were already filled with practitioners. So it was like, when somebody leaves, then you'll have a position that would come open, but there was no way of them telling me how long that was going to be. You know?
Right.
So I'm just like, okay, well, I get to learn about 4 different new product lines, plus all the other little aromatherapy and self-care things that we had available. And I did that for probably like 6 months until I found a job hands-on. And it was just the sacrifice that I made at the time. But I got to learn a whole different side of the business, like the client experience. And so essentially my job was, after somebody came down from a facial, they had like their little recommendation card from the
what
therapist.
Products they should get. Yeah.
And then they'd come bring it to me. I'd show them everything, touch it, feel it. We had testers for everything. So
I could see
I was
you doing
selling.
that.
Yeah. I think that's why.
Doing that.
I think that's why I transitioned so well into working the trade shows. Because I'm like, oh, selling product, like I can do that.
Yeah.
And it was always, I would only pick the products that I loved and tried and believed in. You know, it's like, this is okay, but like this is my favorite.
You need this.
You need this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So again, like, just because you're not finding a specific position that you're wanting right then and there to be hands-on, still there's so many opportunities out there for you, for new estheticians to grow and learn more when you're first starting out, that will look better on your resume. So working at the Ritz got me into my next job of hands-on in a spa that was privately owned. It wasn't a chain. I had a hair salon attached to it. So I was there for about a year before I went out on my own. And, then I've been solo ever since.
Okay. So you had a pretty, I love your background in the different places, the different settings you worked. You went from spa to luxury spa to working out of a salon type of ordeal. And then you were on your own as a solo esthetician. So if you could do anything differently, like start over, what would be the one thing or one piece of advice that you would give to a new esthetician?
There's more than one thing.
Girl.
There's so many things, which is why now we have the Esty Collaborative, so we can pass that knowledge along. But yeah, I would say for me, knowing what I know now, I would have had at least 6 months worth of room rent saved up before I took that leap to be full-time on my own. It was kind of unexpected, me going on my own. I wanted to do it eventually, but the full-time, it came sooner than I thought it would. And I was like, okay, like we're just going for this,
Yeah.
So with that, I really didn't have that much time to prepare. But now I would have definitely had 6 months of rent saved, because you're going to have slow months. You might have months where you don't have any clients. You might have 1 or 2 clients, and that is not going to pay your rent.
Yeah.
So having a savings behind you, that way, when you have a slow month, it's covered. That's huge, because I feel like that's why a lot of people are going out of business, because they're literally working paycheck to paycheck, client to client to client, hoping that they even make the rent.
Yeah, and that could also be because they jumped into being a solo SE too soon as well, before making sure they had the clientele to make the rent and to, pay their own bills at home or whatever the case is. Even when I started, I did have like the doctor's office job, and they were paying pennies. I loved them, but they were paying pennies. So it wasn't much, and then I had my full-time job, but that took care of like my bills, and then my son and the things that he was doing, the extracurricular activities. So I'm like, I'm going to start an esthetician business, but I don't really got that much money saved up. And I'm going to second you on that. Like, please have at least 6 months of rent saved up. That would be the one thing that I would do over. Yeah. Even when I started my business, I didn't even have enough to buy equipment and all that stuff. I ended up finding a location. I signed the lease for the location. I was like, now where the hell? And I ain't got a bed, a towel warmer, a steamer. So
I got a room now.
I got a room though. And a lovely coworker of mine, she believed in me and she gave me $500, and I took that $500 and I bought used equipment, and I just kept working at the doctor's office, my full-time job. And every time I got paid, I'm like buying little things here, little things there, until I built it up. But if I could have do it over, I'm saving the money up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saving the money up because...
Yeah, and we know that it takes money to make money too.
For sure.
So even coming out of school, like if you don't have money, we know in school, if you're lucky, you get an okay kit to take out and then do something with.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we're seeing that's not even being provided anymore. Drugstore skincare.
That is insane. If I pay all this money for school and you give me drug care.
Yeah, I know.
Drug care. Drugstore.
Over the counter.
I'm pissed,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, like something I can
so
go pick up at, wherever. Like,
No, that's not.
No.
When I left school, we had a nice kit. We had Bliss before it was all in like Walmart. It's in Walmart now, which is fine, but it was okay. We had Elemis. We had Elements. We had, there was like 2 more and I can't remember. We had like 5 different skincare lines that we were able to work with in school. And we went home with so much stuff. Now, everyone's kind of using the same stuff. And it's almost like, how do you teach someone with just one line?
Right.
How do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because, there's so many ingredients and things to get into. And a lot of lines, I feel like, kind of have their own signature thing, So to just learn on one line, you're not going to get that all-encompassing education that you need,
or
even to get out of school and then be confident to go pick a product line when there's 1,000 to choose from.
And I only learn from one. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly. That would be enough. Sorry.
Go ahead, girl.
That would be another thing is do not spend a lot of money on an opening order.
That was going to be my next one. I was going to say, I think, do not spend money. There are so many wonderful lines out there that you can buy into without having to spend $1,500, $2,000. In my personal opinion, I think that is insane for skincare companies to expect that. More so from the newer Esties.
Yeah.
I get it because I've spent thousands with opening orders with companies as I grew.
Yeah.
And even in the beginning, I made the mistake and did that. And now I had all this product and I'm like, what the hell do I do with all this product? So, but I still found a way to either sell it or use it or whatever the case is. I've worked with so many different lines. I've opened up, did the opening orders. I did the free without a minimum. Mm-hmm. But I would suggest just start with the ones that don't have a minimum. It's just easier for you as an esthetician to kind of play around with different companies.
Yes.
As opposed to being just stuck with one and all this back bar and all this retail that you probably can't get rid of because you don't have the clients.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it. You can't even get through it, back bar products, when you don't have steady clientele or it's going to expire before you do get through it. And then it's more money wasted. I did that. I placed a $1,500. I think all was said and done, it ended up being $1,800, afterwards. And honestly, even like thinking about my rep at the time, like, what were you thinking? Encouraging me.
Girl, she was thinking about her pockets.
Of course. As she should.
As she should.
But at the same time, like, this is a part of setting your clients up for success. Yes. And just touching on like some of the lab work that I do with Derma Systems, like we are very mindful in somebody coming in and creating a product and not having a huge fluctuation of this product that they can't get through.
Right.
Because it makes you not want to continue. Right. So it is they'll spend more money in the long run, I promise, if you set them up for success in the beginning.
Absolutely.
And then that's where, advice from other estheticians comes into play. Like, what would you do different? Do you think this is worth spending this kind of money on, you know? And then you're probably getting chemical peels and other things that maybe you're not well versed in yet.
Yeah.
So if you are going to do an opening order with a company like that, just make sure they have good training. Like they should be coming in and training you for free. If you want to do an event, they should be coming there to support you for that event.
Absolutely.
So you can get the word out to your clients that you have these products and have your rep there. They can help explain how things work. So definitely, and investing a lot in equipment too. We can do amazing things with just our hands.
For sure.
And with modalities such as My Skin Buddy or an ultrasonic skin scrubber or, little things that add a little bit of luxury to the experience, but you're not
breaking
in debt or making a payment now on this large piece of equipment that who knows when you're going to pay that thing off.
Because you still don't have the clients to pay it. So yeah,
Exactly.
no, I think another thing that I would just add to that, I started with a simple microdermabrasion machine, and it didn't cost me much. You know, I feel like that's one of the cheaper machines that you can have to give an advanced treatment.
Yeah.
So I did start with that because I knew that I wanted to do more corrective skin. So I played a lot around with like enzymes and pairing them up with the microdermabrasion to kind of get results. So I kind of started there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need to try to automatically get a hydrofacial machine because we know those are like over 15,000, you know, they're very expensive.
Yeah.
But once you get that clientele, go for it. You know what I mean? Because they give great results too. So I think, I think that's important. And another thing that I would say is I think I would have been a little bit more assertive with trying to find a mentor. I will say that I could probably go back to my messages from when I started and the amount of people that ignored me.
Stop.
When I asked for help and or asked them to be my mentor. There was only one girl, and I cannot remember her name because I haven't seen her on social media in a while. I want to say her name was Skin by Ashley. It was something, but I think her name was Ashley, but it was spelled like Leigh at the end or something.
Yeah.
She's in a completely different state. And I sent like her a message asking, you know, and she was like, sure, whatever you need. And she was my like go-to person for a little bit, but I'm also the type of person that don't like to ask too much because then I also don't want you to feel like, well, damn, girl, do your own research.
Yeah.
So if I couldn't find it myself, then I would reach out to her. And then it got to the point where I didn't even need to reach out to her anymore because I kind of set myself up for success by doing my own due diligence. So I think you're so funny.
I love this.
No, I'm going to find her and I'm going to shout her out and I'm going to look for our messages because she was so nice to me. But there are a lot of people that will not support you. So it is important to find that support. So I think that's why when we came up with the idea to do the Esty collab, where I was like, yes, let's do it because people just, they could really kick you while you're down as a new Esty. And you really have to build yourself up and keep yourself on a high when it comes to starting out.
Yes.
You really do.
You're your own like biggest number one fan,
Absolutely.
really. You know, you have to just, again, keep that end goal in mind of like why you're here. You know, I think a lot of times we get caught up too and like all the overwhelm and the stress of being a business owner. But instead of like getting back to the root of why am I doing this? Because I love it. Because I love connecting with people and like trying to be present in the moment, you know? But I love that. It just honestly, you doing your own research. I think it's like, that's something that not a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
And I think that it might be somewhat of a reason why a lot of people don't want to be a mentor because I have also experienced it where I'm like, this is a simple Google search.
Yeah.
And I agree with there's no stupid question, like 100%, like, you know, but there are certain things where it's just like, you know, do some research, go on the state board website, like,
or invest in books.
Just,
invest in skincare books. There was one book that I had. It was called the Skincare Bible. I actually got off of Amazon.
Yes.
And I loved that book.
Yeah.
That book was really what had me like, so you're telling me that all they have to do is take care of their gut and it will probably take care of their acne. Like that book was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
So read books, you know, if you can't find it in Google, pour into yourself by making sure that you're continuously learning and you're putting good knowledge in your mind about skincare, about ingredients, about whatever it is that your client may need to know to take their skin to the next level. Don't always look for someone else to give you the answer when the answer is right in front of you. Don't be a lazy esthetician.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Because you have to stay learning. You have to continue to pour into yourself, your brain, and you can't expect somebody to kind of do that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's almost like it's impossible for someone to do that for you.
Yeah.
That's why you already kind of have to come with like that fire, that spark, that passion, you know? And then when you're talking to other people, they feel that.
Yeah.
I've talked to estheticians where I'm like, you don't really care so much about this. You know, like you're doing it because whatever, but you know, it's paying the bills or whatever the case is. But you can really tell when you talk to someone how passionate they are about the industry.
Absolutely.
And then just staying dedicated, again, just you can't give up because it's going to get hard, you know, and even, 10 years in, like we still go through these economic shifts that we also talked about recently.
Yes.
And like, you need to understand how to kind of pivot your business, and that's going to happen when you come out of school too. You're going to have to pivot, you're going to have to figure out what the people that are following you, what they want, what value you have to offer them, and then also how to get in new people, how to get new people to trust you with coming in. It's a very personal experience.
It really is.
So it's not something that most people just come in off the street to have you do something to their face.
Right.
It's
people that actually care and want to see a change in their skin. So yeah, guys. So really hope that you guys took notes. We talked about the importance of saving up your money, getting out there in the real world, not spending so much on equipment, making sure your resume, social media, everything is on point.
Yeah, and in place before graduating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And finding a mentor and finding your support, you know. And we really want you guys to succeed, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, and then you can be long-standing Estys,
Absolutely.
And it's okay if there's changes along the way. Like we've both experienced so many different things, and it's all just made us better in the end, better estheticians. Yeah. Well, if you guys are thinking about going to school to be an esthetician, or if you're recently out of school and need a little bit of a guidance on your resume building, how to show up to different interviews, whatever advice we can offer, please reach out to the Esty Collaborative, leave us a comment below. You can also send us an email if you want to be anonymous to the estycollaborative@gmail.com so we can offer you whatever guidance we can.
Yeah, and before we let you go, I do want to mention that we have an amazing class coming up on the 25th of this month with Gabe Lozada from SNS Miami. Yeah, and he's going to be doing a massage facial class, and we are so excited about learning lymphatic drainage through facial massage to just elevate our client experience.
Yeah, I think the class with Gabe too would be really great for newer estheticians because a lot of them aren't confident in their touch. And a class like this, like you will really leave feeling very confident in your touch.
Yeah.
So that's on Saturday, January 25th.
Yes.
And then Sunday, January 26th.
Yes.
We have NASNPRO.
I'm so excited
National
about
Aesthetic
that.
Spa Network. Yeah. So they'll be hosting in Orlando. It's their 21st year.
Wow.
So they're legal now.
Time to bring the drinks now.
So we'll have a little toast for them.
We will. Yeah. The Esty Collaborative, we're actually hosting an after party for NASNPRO. And stay tuned for details on the final location. Yeah. And you can stay updated with that on our social media as well as our website at estycollaborative.com.
Yeah. And if you're a new esthetician, this is again another amazing event. It's very small scale, so it doesn't feel as overwhelming as some of the bigger trade shows. There's a lot of great education and keynote speakers, some great vendors there that don't require huge opening orders or buy-ins. And you get to network with other estheticians that there could be plenty of opportunities there that could open up for you just by networking with other people. So bring your resume, bring your socials, come ready to network.
To impress.
Yes. Yeah. And then we'll guide you however along we can too.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and give us some feedback on what topics you guys would like for us to talk about in the future, because we can't wait to get into all the deets with you guys and meet you all one of these days. So thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Bye, Collab Crew.
Bye.